Hi guys, it's Allie with Chaos Monkey, and I have an unboxing from Lion brand. Got this big old box here. Lion brand box. Not huge, just, you know, pretty good size box. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up here. This, oh, there's my receipt. Let me see. Okay. This, oh, they gave me a thing for the hatnothate.org. Oh, if you're interested in doing the Hat Not Hate, they do have a code here, which I will share with you guys, to get 35% off blue yarn, which I'm sure they won't mind if I give that to you. I think you can find other codes online too, if you really want to, for the discount on the blue yarn. So I'm pretty sure I've seen it before, so that's why I'm not too bothered on giving you the code. And then here they also gave us a pattern book for ponchos. Some very simple ponchos out of boucle, chenille, homespun. So that's pretty fun. I haven't gotten patterns in my Lion brand hauls before, and this is what I bought. I got the ZZ Twist. Gosh, I hope my light is good, you guys. It's a little cloudy today. So, so this is the ZZ Twist, and it was actually being sold for $1 a ball. So I went ahead and grabbed all the colors that I wanted to work with, and here you go. You see the $1 a ball. So really, I just paid $1 a ball, but then I had to pay shipping, which I'm going to show you how much the shipping was on here. I think I spent like, well, if we just do the math here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I spent $18 on yarn, and then I think it was like $10 or $8 in shipping. But don't quote me on that, I don't know. I do not have my original receipt anywhere. So this yarn is, let me go ahead and get it out of the box real quick so you guys can see, because this is a little too close to the camera. But let me go ahead and pull these out so you can see all the colors I got. I didn't get all of the colors. I did get 2 of each, just because the yardage isn't a lot on these guys. So I wanted to make sure that if we wanted to make anything, we as in me, I guess, that I would have enough in that particular color to make something out of. So as you can see, I will tell you what all the colors are here. That's all I bought, was just the ZZ Twist for $1 a ball. So we'll go ahead and go over the specs real quick. It is 3.5 ounces, 100 gram balls, 246 yards. They say this is a number 4. I do not think that is a number 4, but they can do what they want. It's more of a 3. The suggested needle size is a size 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. The suggested hook size is a J for a 6 millimeter. It's 100% acrylic, machine washable and dryable. And this color is green apple. So we've got green apple, pumpkin, and this nice burnt orange, coral, and this is brighter in real life. This is really bright. This is a really nice coral. It's not like fluorescent, but it's a bright coral. Lilac, navy, taupe, cranberry, and then I got 4 balls in gray. And it's just plain old gray. So 2 balls of each except for the gray, which I got in 4 balls. So yeah, this is supposed to be a yarn that is supposed to be designed for crocheters, apparently, per Lion brand. So the twist, as they're saying, it's a Z twist, which I don't know if you guys, well, you know how when they ply yarn, you do an S twist or a Z twist, and basically one is clockwise, one is counterclockwise. So if, let's say for instance you're plying yarn, you're spinning yarn, and you want to do whatever you're doing, there's really, let's just say you're doing an S twist when you're actually spinning the yarn. When you ply two of those strands together, you want to go in the opposite direction and use a Z twist. Or if you're spinning in a Z twist, and when you're plying, you want to do an S twist. Because some people kind of have a preference. Either way, when you get ready to ply it, you have to ply it in the opposite direction you spun it in. Otherwise, when you ply two strands together, you untwist your original ply. So you get the concept. So apparently, according to Lion Brand, most yarns are finished with an S ply. So they're done in a Z and then they're plied into an S. What they did with these was they plied them into a Z. And so it's the opposite of what you would normally see yarn plied in. Most threads are done in Z. So, you know, just for a heads up. Go on. Oh. Sorry, I had to let my cat out. So, yeah, so when you have a thread when you're sewing, they should be done in Z. If you have a thread that comes apart while you're sewing, that was an S-plied thread, and that was bad, you know, so get rid of it. Because of the way a machine, sewing machine spins and the direction that it works, they do thread in Z twist. But apparently yarns, in general, are finished with an S twist. So these are in Z because they're saying that when a crocheter wraps it around the hook, a right-handed crocheter, that the way you wrap it around the hook, it's like going in the same direction so that you don't unply your own yarn. Some crocheters will notice that happening, like when you have a big ball of yarn and you're working away, that you'll, as you're working and the way you're twisting your hook, you're actually unplying the yarn to the ball slowly, and eventually you'll get more splitting and the yarn will kind of get a little looser, and that's because the direction you're working in is slowly unspinning the ply if it's an S ply and you're right-handed. Left-handed crocheters probably do not have that problem because you're going to be working in the direction of an S ply. I guess this is for right-handed crocheters in general. I'm sure if you're a left-hander and you work with this, you're probably not even going to notice the difference, to be honest. But if you do, comment down below and let me know if you're a lefty that used it, a lefty crocheter, and you noticed if you had a problem with it. But so yeah, so I actually watched a couple of videos on Lion Brand, and that's what the lady was saying. For right-handed crocheters, it's in the direction of the ply, and so you shouldn't have any of those issues of unplying, because it can happen to some people. It hasn't really happened to me. Not that I really noticed. Either I've worked with a yarn that was splitty or not splitty. I didn't notice that a yarn started to split more as I was working on it, but I do know some crocheters do have that problem. So it just depends on how much motion you have and how you crochet and all of that stuff. So anyway, I was really curious to try it, and mostly because I was just interested in the stitch definition, because you can see it's plied pretty spinny. Now I did look at it, it is a 3-ply, which is good because the 3-ply gives you a nice plump round yarn. I did take apart, when I first opened the box to check the order, I had one little end pop out, and I think I saw it had unplied a little bit, and I saw that there were a 3-ply. So it's a 3-ply Z twist, and because of that, it's a very plump, little ropey type of yarn. I hope you guys can see that. Maybe I should try a lighter color here. So can you see how ropey that is? So it has really good stitch definition from the patterns I've seen, so it might be really, really fun to work up. Plus it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, and it's pretty soft. It's not super soft, but it's soft. It feels almost tiny, tiny, tiny bit like a little bit of cotton to it. But it's just all acrylic, of course. But you get what I mean, where it's really, really, really soft, but it has a little bit of tension to it, a little tiny bit like a cotton would. So, yeah, and it's got the sheen. I think all of them have a pretty good sheen. The navy has got a slight sheen. The taupe is really sheeny. So just depending on the color you get. The cranberry is pretty matte. But overall, it's just the way the yarn is. It's just got a little bit of a sheen, and it's very ropey. It'll probably be fun to work with, and it will really show any stitch definition that you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. Oh, this one's got a knot in it. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and pick a color and get it ready to go so I can crochet and knit with it. They also said that knitters would have no problem using it, of course, too. And it would just do the same thing, just show a lot of stitch definition for knitters as well as crocheters. But they just, for some reason, decided to do a Z-twist for crocheters. So, interesting. So I think I will probably go with the green because it's pretty light and you'll be able to see the stitches pretty evenly. And I will be right back. Okay guys, I'm back and we're going to go ahead and test the yarn with some crocheting. This is in the hook size I suggested, which is the J hook, 6mm. There we go. And I just put a slip knot on the hook and I'm going to go ahead and just chain. Maybe I'll do a little more. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Does that make it a little distance? So you can see there's a lot of texture in that. Very ropey look to it. And we're going to go ahead and just single crochet back. I'm going to go under the 2 top loops and just work into the chain. Maybe I shouldn't, maybe it's twisting it. Hold on. It is very cottony. It tends to, like, the stitches when you stretch them out tend to kind of want to stay wherever. So I'm just going to go through the top loop because I think I'm going to twist the whole piece if I try to go through both those loops. I think it's going to twist up with this twist. So I'm just working, sorry if I'm out of frame, but I'm just working back. I'll show you when I'm done. Just single crocheting in each of the chains across so we can get an idea of what it looks like with an actual stitch. I'm trying not to twist it as I go. So I can see why they suggested J. I thought J would be way too big for this because it's more of a 3 instead of a 4 weight, but you can see that it's pretty structurally, like, solid. So this J hook, which I thought we'd have gaps all over the place, is actually giving pretty good tension. So this hook size is actually working. So now I'm going to do some double crochets so we can see a taller stitch. So far it's pretty nice to work with. Feels okay in the hand. It is a little cottony with that kind of tension and give and just overall feel. I could see if you're a tight crocheter, depending on how you tension your yarn, I could see it potentially hurting your finger over time because it is a little bit of that cottony feel to it. But I'm fairly loose with how I tension, but even then I'm kind of feeling it on these fingers. As I'm pulling, I'm feeling some friction down there. So I'm just double crocheting all the way across and I'll show you. Yeah, because for me, if you see how I tension this, I tension over this finger, but these fingers actually do the tensioning. So as the yarn's pulling through, it's pulling over those fingers, and I'm feeling it right here and right here, the friction. Okay, so I'm at the end, so I'm going to go ahead and show what the double crochet looks like. So you can see that is really textured. Like if I put it down here, you can see it from a distance. So now I guess we'll do a triple. I'm going to scoot over a stitch too because I'm kind of arching out because I went straight from a single to a double and now to a triple, so the whole thing is going to kind of stretch out this way. So I'm just going to skip over this double crochet to kind of just tighten it up a little bit. Try to get back into a square shape here because we're going to flare because of all the larger stitches being put in here. So, okay, so I'm going to stop there so you can see how much texture is in that, and that is a lot of texture. So if you were making something with doubles or triples or front posts, or here, let me see if I can do a front post. Double crochet. Front posts, back posts, I'll do a couple back posts too. So again, just excuse me if I'm off camera because I'm just getting this done and you guys know how to crochet. I just want to, there you go. So there's some front posts and some back post stitches here, just to, does that even focus? Just so you can get an idea of the texture. So there's a lot of texture in here. And this green is really pretty. I think it's coming out a little lighter on camera. The green is actually pretty much just an apple green. It's just coming out a little bit brighter. So you can see that this is textured. It does have some stretch to it, but it does feel a little cottony, and you can actually hear it. So it should be nice to work with, especially I'm thinking more summer garments, things like that. Ponchos, big objects that need a lot of drape. I don't know how it washes up. It could get even softer with washing. A lot of acrylics do. So once I actually make something and wash it, I'll see if it softens up a little bit more, because even cottons soften up after washing. So this is just a little bit of a more cottony type of acrylic, and once it's washed it might relax a little bit and get softer in a garment. So far so good. So we'll go ahead and knit in it, and I believe what was the knitting needles again? Size 7s? I don't think I have any 7s in my long needles. I have 6s, so we're going to go ahead and do straights on a 6. If it ends up being way too tight, what am I doing? I have to do a long tail. Then I will switch to the actual 7s, but I'll try to go a little, try not to be too tight. So I'm just going to do a long tail cast on. Again, this is not to teach you how to crochet or how to knit. This is just to show how the yarn is performing. So you can see how I do things, but again, I'm not trying to teach you, so I'm not going to slow down and go step by step, because this isn't for teaching. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is for yarn demo. Okay, so I just did a long tail cast on. We're just going to knit back. You might hear some editing because my dog has been barking at the neighbor dogs. So for the actual, it's pretty easy to get into, just like knitting with cotton. Also, I'm trying to go fairly, I need to loosen up a little bit. So we're just going to knit all the way across so we can see. And I'm just going to do a stockinette swatch here, so you can see the knitting definition. It's not doing too bad on size 6 needles. And I'm just going to purl back. I am splitting it with my knitting needles. But keep in mind I've kind of worked that one section and pulled it back, pulled it out and worked it again. So, interesting. So you can actually see that those plies are untwisting a little bit. So I'm wondering if you have to rip back a lot on a certain piece, if those plies are going to relax. So you can kind of see that my plies are they're just straightening out. You can see three separate strands as I'm knitting. And you can see I'm not doing anything funky. I'm just pulling it onto the needle. So knitting, I'm not sure, because if it's going to do that, when you work back into it, oops, as you can see what I just did here, I only picked up one strand. So I'm going to pull that out. And you can see how working back into it could really split. And I am knitting fairly loosely just because I'm using a size smaller knitting needle than they suggest, but not like loose enough to unply the yarn. You know what I mean? I'm just keeping it so that it's sliding easily on the needle. And no matter how loose you are, you shouldn't unply your yarn, how loose you're holding it. So I could see this being an issue if you're not watching. I'm just going in here and just picking up like one ply, two plies instead of the whole thing. Because keep in mind, I am using a size smaller needle, but I'm also not pulling extremely tight or extremely loose on here. So I would definitely, from what I'm seeing so far, I would definitely probably suggest this for crochet. It is knittable, obviously, but if you are going to knit with it, you just have to be ever vigilant. You can't make something where you have to take your eyes off your work, because you could easily just pick up one ply or two ply if you're just kind of speeding along. And now I'm just doing a garter. I'm just knitting both sides, just so we can get a tiny swatch for just some texture. I actually think that the 7s might be too big for the knitting. Ooh, and there I did it again. You can see that. I picked up, can see, but here I only picked up 2 strands, so I have to drop that off and pick it up. And I'm trying to be careful. So this yarn is probably not the best for knitting. I just picked up 2 strands again, so I'm going to drop it. And you can see that I still have a twist here. It's not like I'm unplying it here. It's just the fact of going underneath and picking it up, it just kind of flattens out and you get 3 separate strands. And in doing so, just kind of picking it up, sometimes you'll just get 1 or 2 strands. I did it again. You can see right there. Sorry if it's a little blurry, but I only picked up 2 strands. So it's kind of just with knitting needles, even though I'm scooping around, I'm still kind of splitting the yarn as I'm pulling it in. And that one I only picked up 1. So this is oh, let's look at the stitch definition. So here you can see some stockinette. Really nice stitch definition. You can definitely see the definition of the stitches and the spaces in between. The garter, really nice stitch definition. So this yarn is excellent for stitch definition, but for a knitter you just have to watch, at least the way I knit, that I was splitting the yarn as I was picking it up, because you can see what it does on the actual, as you just, because I guess just when you pick it up and you're just kind of flattening it against the needle, those plies just want to separate, or the twist just wants to kind of flatten, and when it flattens, the plies are kind of squished by and flattened out by themselves. You know what I mean? Because that does have a lot of squish to it. It does have a lot of flexibility. So I think it would be really good for garments, especially summer garments. So yeah, I would pretty much just treat it like a summer yarn. Something that needs a lot of texture to show. It would be really great with this yarn. As for knitting with it, I probably wouldn't suggest knitting. Because even if it was on a bigger hook size, or sorry, a bigger needle size, this issue is still going to be the same. The only thing that's changing is just how tight my stitches are overall, and I actually like this gauge. I think if I had gone up to the 7, I think there'd be a little too much gap in the stockinette. It would be like bigger stitches like this. So I actually like the tension here because it has so much stretch. So I'm actually, if I made anything garment-wise, I would probably stick with a 6 versus the 7, just because the tension of the yarn and everything looks really nice. Plus the garter. Garter's even stretchier than stockinette, so yeah, especially if I was doing anything in garter, I'd stick with the 6 instead of the 7. Especially in a big heavy garment and all that, because but as for knitting, you've really got to watch how it's behaving on the needles. So it is definitely a yarn focused on crocheters. It is definitely designed more for crocheters. Of course knitters can use it, but yeah. Plus I'm really curious too, like on a garment, it's a very lightweight yarn, which is good. And it has a lot of stretch and a lot of drape, which is what they designed it for. And making a garment might be absolutely fantastic, but it might have so much stretch and so much drape that once again, you probably don't want to make anything out of knitting. I'm thinking there's a potential that it could stretch those stitches out with wear, like with gravity if you're going to make a garment, that it could continue to stretch the stitches out. Whereas with crochet, crochet stitches are firmer and more structured, so that doesn't happen as much, depending on the stitch you're using. So overall, I mean, I like the yarn. I'm going to try to find something to make out of it or something to design out of it. And I will most likely crochet it because I see it just being better for crochet. For sure. Versus the knitting. But if you are knitting, it does make really beautiful stitch definition. It will probably make a beautiful garment. I'm not sure if the piece would stretch out. I would make a big swatch and weight it. Hang it up and put weights on the bottom to see how much give these stitches have before you make a really big garment out of it. Because the weight of itself will pull on it. And so just to do a weight test, just to kind of get a preliminary guess at how much it may potentially stretch. It won't be 100% accurate by far, but it will kind of give you an idea of maybe I need to adjust for that. For instance, maybe if you're going to make a garment, you want to make a seamed garment. If you do the stretch test and it really seems like it's going to stretch too far with wear, because a lot of bamboo, a lot of cottons, some alpacas, as you wear them, they will continue to stretch during the day. A lot of, especially bamboo. Bamboo is notorious for just like falling off your body over the day, just from the weight of itself. Even though bamboo yarn is very lightweight, just the fact that it's gravity and the yarn itself can stretch it in a garment. So, do the stretch test on this if you're going to knit it. If it's going to really stretch, you can still make a garment out of it, but you would probably have to do a seamed garment as opposed to a one-piece garment, because the seams will give it structure and prevent the stretching. So I could definitely see knitting with it. I would just be cautious, that you're going to have to make sure you pick up all your strands every time. And I don't know, it's really nice to work with. I'm going to try to just crochet with it because I just think that's a safer, easier bet. And anything that you want a lot of stitch definition with, absolutely. This is what this yarn is designed for, and it delivers. It delivers on stitch definition with the way the yarn is constructed and with the sheen. But I would definitely do a crocheted. If you're going to do something large out of it, I would definitely do something crocheted. If you're going to do something smaller, then you could probably knit without a problem. Knit the garment, like a baby garment or something. You would definitely knit it. I haven't seen a lot of patterns on Lion Brand showing what they're making out of it yet. I kind of went to go look and I didn't really see much. Just to get an idea, I think they showed one top, and it was a Mobius like shrug. So it was a shrug that they kind of twisted in the middle and sewed together as a Mobius. And it looked pretty good. I mean, it didn't look like the stitches were too loose or that it was stretching out or any of that, but it was a crocheted item. So again, it is designed for crochet. So I'm sure they did more testing in crochet than knitting. And of course you can knit in it because it's yarn, so they're not going to say you can't knit in it, but if you do, just be careful that the yarn is going to behave differently and just to test it out. Here they have on the band, they actually have a hat, but it's crocheted, so you can see that smaller items that you need a lot of stitch definition with, and crochet anything would probably work really, really well with this. If you knit with it, just beware, you know, at your own risk. But so far I'm really liking it. But I'm thinking garment. I'm thinking garment with this. You know what I mean? It's not good for winter gear. I wouldn't see it for mitts. I wouldn't see it for shawls. Maybe hats and maybe garments would definitely be the way to go with this stuff. So again, I'm going to find something to make with it over time. I've got a lot going on right now, but when I do make something with it, I'll show you guys, of course. And when I've decided what I'm going to make and what I'm going to design, any of that extra yarn is going to go into a future giveaway, just to give you a heads up. I kind of got all the colors I was interested in, but I guarantee whatever I make, I'm not going to need all of those balls. So I'm probably going to end up making a garment, and I'm probably going to use the gray as the primary, and then these guys as like contrast colors, and so I'm sure I'm going to have at least 5 or 6 balls left over. And so I will just pop those into a giveaway. So for the future, so that you guys can try it out if you're interested. But again, they had it on for $1 a ball on Lion Brand. So I'm wondering whether we're kind of doing $1 a ball, get it out of inventory. Maybe it just wasn't selling, because I'm sure they were probably trying to charge $4 or $5 a ball for this. Maybe it just wasn't selling, or people were complaining because they didn't enjoy working with it. Who knows? But I can see it being pretty fun. I wouldn't want to work with it all the time, but I could definitely see it being fun for, you know, to work with a couple of times to try it out. There's definitely other yarns that I enjoy a lot more and are more versatile, but I really appreciate that they're trying new things, you know. I really like that the market is so strong now that we can get so many things to try, and that they can try, and if it doesn't work, they can stop and try something else. And so it's really fun to just kind of give whatever they're doing currently a shot. So just keep your mind open, you know, give things, especially if it's $1 a ball. And so that's it, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and go. I'll keep you posted on anything I make out of it. And you got my first impressions, total honesty with the crocheting and the knitting. So yeah, just going to let you guys go. I have talked enough. Okay, love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.